So good. There we go. There we go. Let's try that again. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Coin Drop Podcast. This is episode 66, and my mic decided it didn't want to record again when we started. So your ears were working just fine. It was just my mic that wasn't. Joining me, as always, the enigmatic, the overworked, the underappreciated Tim Vargo.
the Sheldon of the video game world.
The Sheldon of the video game world. Tim Vargo. How you doing, man? It's we took last week off, so it's been two.
Yeah, it's been a busy couple of weeks for myself, as always. Unfortunately, I don't have any update on the PSVR 2, but that'll come eventually.
It's still sitting in its box.
Yeah, it's still in the closet for that matter.
You're like, this shit's in the way. Just puts it in a closet. God, dude, if that is not a sign of an aging gamer, nothing is. Brand new toy, put it in the closet. Fuck.
Yeah, no. I don't want to be tormented by putting it in front of me.
Yeah.
I've been keeping up with the news at least.
Yeah.
There's that.
Yeah,
right?
you did do a live react for the first half of Gamescom, if I remember correctly.
I had intended to do the second half, but that'll come later.
Yep. Life gets in the way, right?
Yeah. Especially when you're as busy as I am. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I've been just chugging along, doing the work stuff. Today so I have been deathly sick for the longest time because of being fucking poisoned by my wife by accident. You
mentioned that like 2 or 3 weeks ago, didn't you?
It was about a month ago now, dude. Like, it took me that long. Yeah, it took me about a month. Finally feeling much better. Last week was like the real last remnants of it, and we tried to do a new chicken coop fence last week. We ripped out the old one and just let the chickens free range. Because we were hoping to get it done that weekend, and the auger that I was borrowing from work broke. So the chickens have just been kind of wandering around and getting into my neighbor's yard a little bit. So we have to chase them back every now and then. But we finally got the fence posts up for it literally today. I've got two more I have to stain, 3 more I have to stain, and then I can get those in the ground tomorrow morning. And then at least we're moving along. It's happening. It's getting there. So
yeah, sounds good.
Little worn out from that, and then just week of work. I have not been up on the news. I didn't watch Gamescom. I kind of briefly looked over stuff before we started. Saw that our first topic here was announced. Not announced, but we actually got some gameplay for it. Batman Arkham Shadows. We finally got some actual gameplay footage for this new Quest exclusive VR game, and I got some thoughts, but I want to hear yours first.
So my first thoughts really at the game is basically it's Arkham in VR. And while there's going to be concessions, it's like there's just no question about it. There's going to be concessions, but the combat, given it's a VR title, you won't be able to have that fluid like I'm a super badass. I think everything else looks pretty much on point. Really, the graphics, the style, which is basically Arkham, and the combat, the little combat they showed, because they definitely didn't show a lot.
Yeah.
But the combat they showed definitely looks interesting enough to be okay. The combat's going to be the weak point of the game, given that's what was the strong point of all the previous games. The combat was so new and interesting that it made you feel like a super badass.
Yeah.
It made you feel like Batman in a really awesome way. So it's kind of unfortunate, but like, how do you translate that into a VR title? So I really feel like what they're going to do is the combat's going to be the weak point. They're going to do their best to make it as great as possible, but it's going to be the weak point of the game, and everything else, the detective style, the stealth, everything else, I think they're going to really do their best to nail that as much as possible to make up for that weak combat. That's my quick thoughts on it.
I'm going to go ahead and say they're going to have to.
Yeah.
I will say graphically, the game looks really solid. It is a Quest exclusive, so they have the benefit of only developing for one type of hardware. It's made by Camouflage, which is apparently owned by Meta. They are an in-house developer, so very little chance that this game's ever going anywhere but Quest.
Yep.
It looks good. I think you're right on the detective thing. I think that's going to be a lot of their focus. There's one immediate issue I have with the combat in this that, like, now watching the trailer 2 or 3 times becomes even more pressing. There's a punch, like the actual attacks that they do in this trailer, like the punches they throw, they don't look like somebody in VR throwing a punch. They look like somebody's...
So you think the trailer's doctor?
No, here's my biggest concern. Here's my biggest fear. I'm worried that it's a button to punch. That's if you look at the trailer again, he punches at the beginning of the trailer twice in the exact same way. Exactly the same. Same cadence, same speed, same everything. And it's really concerning to me. I hope I'm wrong, but like...
That would be... awful. Really strange.
It would be awful. It'd be absolutely...
like, why would you do that?
But like, if you watch the opening trailer again here as this rolls back through, the first punch he does is exactly the same punch he does as the guy he's holding up on, like, probably a gargoyle, and he punches him off to, like, hang him from the gargoyle. It's the exact same punch. And there is no punch in VR, as somebody who uses VR for punching literally 3 times a week, that is exactly the same. Like, you just don't punch the same. You'd never do.
Yeah. So no, it's always gonna be a little bit different.
So that was super concerning the first time I saw that. A lot of the hand movements for combat and stuff like that, they look super canned, and it's really disconcerting to me that, like,
I can see that.
It shouldn't look that way if you're actually doing that, right? There's one combo where it looks it just, I don't know, man. The melee just, yeah, it's really concerning to me. The rest of the game, like you said, the investigation stuff, the interacting with the environment looks pretty solid, but that combat, those punches looking so identical, either they've got a pro VR player who knows how to punch and throws the same punch every time, who, like, seriously knows what they're doing, or those are canned animations that you're hitting a button combo to do. And maybe there's accessibility settings, right? Maybe it's a setting they have so, like, you can change it from fist punching to button hitting, right? Like, maybe that's an option.
Yeah, that would allow people that don't really want to worry so much about, I guess, being as accurate as possible. They can just press the button instead.
And I would be totally fine with that.
I guess that would work.
I'd be totally fine, especially if you're playing in, like, a seated position, or, like, you know what I mean? Like, if you don't have a lot of room to, like, throw punches, you need to have some kind of ability there, right? So it's just concerning that that's what they're showing in this trailer, because it looks very, like, button press attack. Like, it looks like the fighting punches from regular Batman Arkham Asylum. It doesn't look identical, but you know what I mean? Like, it
doesn't
looks
look
like
nearly fluid.
No, but it looks like it's a programmed thing, not somebody with a VR controller, you know, throwing a punch. So that's my biggest concern, personally, is as I look at this again and again and again, those animations don't look like they're free animations from somebody using an Oculus Quest controller to throw a punch. As somebody who does that constantly, I know what that looks like.
yeah. I mean, your series is definitely, that's fair.
So,
I mean, I guess we'll see more. What's the release date on this game?
October. It comes out October 2024. So it's not far away. And honestly, I'm probably gonna buy it. But there's also, like, the other thing that sets me off is when he does the flying kick. Is like, that has to be a button press, you know? He, like, glides in through the screen and then kicks the dude.
I can see that one being a button press. That's not a big deal to me.
It's not as big a deal to me either, but, like, I don't know. Especially since, like, that's a 2-footed kick. Like, you're not going to expect your players to jump up and plant both. Like, that's not realistic. We aren't all Bruce Wayne. I don't know. I'm curious to see how the combat actually plays. I wish they would have done, like, a picture-in-picture thing here, like I do with my series when I'm actually playing. You can see the movements I'm making in turn with what's actually happening in the trailer. I get that kind of takes some people out for the trailer, but it would give me a better understanding of what we're actually seeing happen in VR. So,
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I think the whole thing looks pretty freaking sweet, and it makes me like disappointed that I don't have a Meta Quest. And I mean, I don't have the money to buy a Meta Quest, especially because the little money that I have, I'm going to definitely be buying that PS5 Pro when it comes out.
Right.
I mean, I guess it sucks to be me, really, unless Facebook decides to pull an Xbox and start making their games multi-platform.
Dude, then we'll have Lies of M as well as Lies of P.
Lies of Meta.
Lies of Meta. Yeah.
Oh God, good God! Speaking of the Lies of P, he's been rolling in those this week. But we'll get to that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, that's Batman. I'm probably gonna buy it because I'm a Batman fan. The game looks good enough. I want to support this. I would love to see VR grow, and this looks like it could be a really solid game. So I personally loved Assassin's Creed Nexus. I think it broke me on Assassin's Creed. I think it had the most amazing free running I've ever done in VR, period, ever. And it was just so much fucking fun, dude. Like, I wish that game would go to other platforms. And for Ubisoft to say it was a financial failure is very disappointing, because
I know
it's
stupid,
dude. It was so fun. Honestly, like, that was definitely the seller of last year, and this is going to be the seller of this year.
Just the fact that they made it exclusive to one system, one VR system, was so dumb.
I mean, you've got the same thing on PlayStation, though, buddy. You've got exclusive ass Resident Evil 4 VR.
That's only slightly different because the game sells better on consoles.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Assassin's Creed sells better on consoles, so why would you limit your
I assume it was a deal with Meta, and that's all it comes down to.
And Meta has a shit ton of money because they sell me and you.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So, anyways, that's Batman. I'm cautiously optimistic. I think the story will be cool enough. I think the cameos will be cool. I think it'll be a good game. I think it's going to play very, very linearly. Jesus Christ.
Linearly.
That one. I can't. Yep. Linearly? Linearly. It's going to play in a line.
Jeez.
It's going to be a line.
We speak English, okay?
Maybe you do.
Oh, good Lord. So my main question with that with this whole game is, who's going to play Batman's voice?
Yeah, I don't know. They do have a new voice actor. Let me see if I can find that real quick.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not going to be the same guy as before.
No, he's
for some reason. For some reason, my mind wants to say Michael Keaton, but I know it's wrong.
It's Kevin Conroy.
There you go. Thank you. And I mean, there's enough people out there that could easily imitate his voice, that could do it well enough for this game, and it'll sound like him.
Have you watched Cape Crusader yet?
No.
It's actually really good, and the voice actor did a really good job of sounding unique enough to not be like a bad ripoff of Kevin Conroy, but still doing homage to Kevin Conroy. He struck a really good balance. Okay. Yeah.
That is one of those things I've always wondered when it comes to TV shows and stuff where it has voice actors, is when one has to be replaced for one reason or another. How close do you want to be to that person without trying to be that person?
Yeah.
Unless you're, you know what I mean?
He did
because, like you said.
Yeah. He did an interview and said he really struggled with not doing a Kevin Conroy impression when they were like first starting to record and stuff like that. And it comes through in the first couple episodes where it sounds like he's trying to be Kevin Conroy, and he really comes into his own after that. Funny enough, so the voice actor for this game for Batman is Roger Craig Smith. He's the voice actor of Ezio from Assassin's Creed.
Interesting.
He's also Batman in Batman Arkham Origins. He does the voice for Arkham Origins. Why Kevin Conroy didn't, I don't know. He's Mission Control in Helldivers 2. He plays a couple of cameos in Batman Cape Crusader. He's Sonic in Sonic Dream Team. He's Ezio in Assassin's Creed Nexus. So he's done some roles. He's done Batman before. He's the voice of the guy from Immortals of AM.
Perfect fit, basically.
Yeah, he's done a good amount of acting. He's in Hi-Fi Rush. Yeah, he's done some stuff. This is definitely right in his wheelhouse. So Roger Craig Smith, that guy. I think he does a good voice too. He's definitely a buyable Batman from what I heard in the trailer. So, let's talk. I guess another game. I guess we should preface this, right? Like all this stuff was announced at Gamescom. We're not talking about everything. Yeah, that one. What you said.
I speak English.
You do. I speak. I don't. I'm just here, man.
Sorry, I'm the Sheldon of video games, right?
Yep.
Sorry.
Fuck. These were all games shown at Gamescom. That happened last week, obviously. There's a lot more that was shown.
The first day was Monday.
Gotcha. So there's a lot more. We're not going to be talking about all of them, but we will be moving on to 2 more of them tonight. Before we move on, quick intermission here. We have a Patreon. Forgot to mention this at the top of the episode again. We're really good at that. So, we're super professional. 66 episodes deep. We're so good.
I mean, the way I look at it, it just means that we love doing this. If you want to support us doing this, that would be wonderful.
Yeah. We will happily take your money and put it to good use, giving it to other people. Call us the Robin Hood of gaming, because the more you guys give to us, the more we can give back to you. I would love to do game giveaways. I would love to do system giveaways. I'd love to do all kinds of stuff for you guys, but obviously all that costs money.
Let me just give you a tiny little bit. Once we've got our expenses paid for, every cent is going to be put back into giving it to you guys, more or less.
Yeah, I don't
literally our intent with this.
I don't care about making money off of this. I don't think it's worth making money off of. I think it's a way to promote the greatest hobby in the world, in my opinion.
Yes.
And if we can help other people with giveaways and give you guys like a new release or dude, I'd love to do a MetaQuest 3 giveaway in the future or MetaQuest 5, whatever the fuck. But like, in order to do that, money is required, right? And just keeping the show running right now is so helpful to everybody that's doing that. So if you want to contribute and help us grow and help us do more things to grow, patreon.com/CoinDropPod. You get extra content. Today we're going to be talking about Outer Worlds 2 status, as well as some other a new Cyberpunk game over on Patreon. We also, in that segment, go over games that are coming for the week that we are interested in. We list them off, tell you when they're coming, what systems are coming to, give you a little synopsis. So we kind of give you a wrap-up of the stuff that's coming in the next week that you might be interested in. If you want to support the show, it's $3 a month, helps us big time. We also have Spotify integration for that playlist. So if you listen on Spotify, you don't have to go to Patreon to listen to the episodes to download them. You can literally link your Spotify account and get access to that exclusive playlist. So you have the full episodes there. You don't have to make an extra stop. It's really great. And we appreciate it. But if you want to help the podcast grow and you don't have any funds, just tell your friends. Say, hey, check these guys out. They're pretty entertaining, hopefully. Hopefully we're slightly entertaining and very informative. Like, that's the goal here. We're trying to strike that balance of like 80% entertainment, 250% informational. I realize that doesn't equal 100. I'm also bad at math. It's fine.
I thought about letting my inner Sheldon out there, but you took care of it.
Yeah, I gotcha. Let's talk about our next big topic. Dying Light 2. Technically Dying Light the Beast. I guess they're not labeling this as Dying Light 2.
So, I mean, technically, isn't there already a Dying Light 2? Wouldn't this be Dying Light 3?
Well, this is 2. a standalone expansion side story from 2. So anybody who bought Dying Light 2 Ultimate Edition is going to get this free. If not, you'll have to pay for it. No word on when it's coming out or what that price will be yet. But if you didn't see this at Gamescom, they're bringing back Kyle Crane, which is the protagonist you play as from the first one. Now, supposedly, there's some controversy over that character because the DLC that they made, Dying Light the Following, from the first game, Kyle, spoiler alert, dies, apparently, supposedly, air quotes. Possibly? It's unclear, I guess.
Which makes sense why the game, The Beast, is taking place, or the storyline for the number 2, or good lord, the storyline for the Beast is working the way it is, more or less.
Yeah. So it's also why he's not in 2. I personally haven't played 2. I was super looking forward to it. In fact, I had one of the coolest experiences of my life at E3 with Techland. In 2018, they were there showing off Dying Light 2 behind closed doors for press. Yep, and it was like cool. This super cool like hallway you walk through. There was the volatile there. You got like there was some sweet swag. I got a black light that I got to shine at the actor who was being the volatile. It's a very cool introduction. They showed off very, very early footage of the game at that time. Again, behind closed doors for press. It was single-handedly, but between that and seeing Cyberpunk 2077 behind closed doors, 2 single coolest moments in my entire life of doing anything video gaming. That's beyond the point. When 2 came out, I heard it had a lot of issues. I saw that it had a lot of issues, and I still haven't played it because of those issues. From my understanding, a lot of those bugs have been fixed. But that's kind of off topic here, right? So
I mean, the first game was so desperately updated over the course of time that they made it awesome. 2, I don't think it's gotten quite the same level of support, but it has managed to fix the majority of the bad issues.
Yeah.
And here we are with the Beast.
Yeah. So the Beast takes place, I think it's either 10 or 13 years later. Let me double check here. 13 years after the events of Dying Light 1, the following. And basically, Kyle Crane has been locked in a laboratory being experimented on during that whole time. So that's where he's been. That's what's been going on. He eventually breaks loose and finds himself in Castor Woods. I don't know if that's a location from the second game. Like I had said, haven't played it yet. I want to.
Yeah, I didn't get around to 2 either.
Yeah, I do want to play it. But he breaks out and basically goes on a rampage of vengeance, trying to kill the people who basically imprisoned him and tortured him for so long. Mm-hmm. He's got some cool new abilities, some super sweet powers because he's the Beast, basically. They haven't really...
He's infected.
Yeah, they haven't really detailed what all that's going to look like, but I imagine it's going to be some really cool, like... I almost get prototype vibes from it. And that's
yeah.
You know, like, you're mutated, you have some crazy superpowers that are just... They haven't said what they are, but that's where my brain goes.
I didn't particularly think of prototype, but that is an awesome thought.
Yeah.
Because prototype was fun as shit.
Dude, prototype was so fucking good.
Yeah, I mean, they made 2 of them, so I mean, I give them some credit there, but it's one of those games that never quite realized its potential. And given that Dying Light has been so popular, and they've already got a really good lore set just without the Beast.
Yeah.
And you know, with the monsters and the different zombie types and stuff, I forget what they call the special ones that you have to worry about at night.
Volatiles.
But yeah, the volatiles. There you go. So it'd be really interesting to effectively be a volatile. And the real question is, I mean, in the trailer, in the gameplay side of the trailer, you see him attacking both human enemies and zombies alike. So are you going to be effectively a friend of the zombies or not? Also, my question is my serious question about the whole storyline aspect of the game is, are you going to be like Ellie where you're technically immune? In The Last of Us, where you're immune, but in this case, you've gained some abilities on top of it as well. Like they showed some wall runnings and various other stuff. So, like you mentioned, prototype.
Yeah.
But first person. That would be really cool. So I'm getting like now Mirror's Edge style gameplay thrown in there. Like I can really, really see some interesting gameplay elements thrown into this genre specifically, in this game specifically, to where I'm like, okay. So at first when they announced it, actually, when I watched it the other day, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Dying Light, but you're the zombie. Awesome.
Yeah.
But now that we're talking about it, I'm like, okay, now I'm interested.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks good. I mean, the first game played great. I remember playing it briefly with you and Mike when we did the after party things. I would love to go back to it at some point and finish it as well as the following, and then move on to 2. But this one is also going to have that. You're also going to have co-op. It's also going to have 4-player co-op. It's going to have day-night cycle. It's everything you want out of Dying Light, but you're playing that, that titular character from the first game. There's snippet for the game here from the Steam page is, after 13 years of enduring experiments, you escape and hunt down your captors to seek retribution, only to discover there's far more at stake. While the region is not as populated as it once was, there are still people and factions here, as well as plenty of horrors. Some will ask for your help, others will want to kill you, and that's not to mention the mysterious creature that's turned the woods into its own personal hunting grounds. So it almost sounds like you're the beast, but the spin is there's another one. You know what I mean? Like it sounds like that's maybe right.
So do you know how? Because I never really looked into this, I don't think. But the Dying Light 2, do we know how long it took place after the first game?
If I remember correctly, it was something like 25 years. I'd have to double check, but it was. I remember them saying that. How long?
The main reason I ask is because if this takes place after Dying Light 2, that would make more sense.
Yeah.
Simply because Dying Light 2 taking place after this, The Beast, and they didn't mention it in any way, shape, or form, is kind of strange. Now, of course, it took place in a lot of the same area, didn't it?
No, Dying Light 2 took place in a different area, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, okay. Gotcha. But I believe it was. Yeah, I believe it was quite a bit later. Let's see.
Well, in any case, the game itself sounds like a really cool idea the more I think about it. My question would be, is in multiplayer, obviously everyone's going to be a zombie, but how would they manage to explain that? I mean, I guess they technically
you're still mostly human.
Yeah.
So Dying Light 2 is set in 2036, 22 years after the events of Dying Light.
Okay.
So my guess is, yeah.
So yeah, but since it takes place in a different zone or a different area of the world,
right?
This guy doesn't matter, more or less.
Basically, yeah.
You like you mentioned, you are fully human, or not fully human. You're more human than zombie. So I guess you're not necessarily immune. You're like some sort of like hybrid, I guess.
Yeah. I think Mike said it best. He called Kyle Crane at this point like a mutant, right? Because they've been doing experiments on you. So I think a mutant is a good label for whatever the hell Kyle Crane is at this point.
And you're going to hear this from me more often than not tonight. It sucks to be Switch players because it's not coming to Switch. But the thing that has me wonder is I read something a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember if I mentioned this in one of our previous episodes, but some leaker supposedly, in any case, said that the Switch 2 is basically going to be a beast, no pun intended, of a port machine. Mm-hmm. Basically, there's just so many games are going to come to it because it's going to be capable of running, say, games like this. And sure, they're going to be late to the party on the Switch, but the fact that you could take them on the go might be a big deal. Now, of course, it's going to be, quote, about as powerful as a Steam Deck, and that already exists.
Yeah, that's where my big question is, man, is like, does Nintendo does Nintendo take a step back and kind of reevaluate? Because they're not competing with PS5 and Xbox Series anymore. They're now
isn't competing anymore.
Well, but I mean, Nintendo is basically solely competing with this new console with Switch 2, which I still think they should just call it the fucking Game Boy.
That'd be amazing.
They're competing with Steam Deck, and Steam Deck's been out long enough that,
and the Asus ROG and the bajillion other mobile PCs.
They're effectively late to the party that they started.
Yeah. So we talked about this when one of the first major rumors for the Switch 2 came out, like probably more like 20 episodes ago, a long time ago at this point. And if I remember correctly, you didn't quite agree with me, although now it sounds like you do. In the sense of, there's so many other viable options out there. They're going to be way more versatile than the Switch 2, just by default, considering their PCs.
Yeah.
The Switch is obviously, the Switch 2 is obviously going to be a closed system, and it's going to be heavily guarded. So why would you, especially when these other mobile PCs are going to be either more powerful or similar, but the fact that they're opened. I can play Epic and Steam and GOG and Amazon, all these other different services. Why would I ever buy a Switch? It makes no sense. And so I think Nintendo is going to find themselves between a rock and a hard place. And unless their pricing is right, which I don't think they're going to be able to do, I don't know what the hell they're going to do.
I almost wonder if that thought process right there is why we haven't seen the console yet.
Yeah.
Because I wonder if the execs at Nintendo are stepping back and going, "Oh fuck,
Yeah. I mean, so that is something that has come out on multiple occasions. Nvidia made the graphics card for this new Switch 2, and supposedly it's been leaked more than one time. The Switch 2 has been ready for like a year now, and Nintendo hasn't released it or even announced it or even shown it off. And apparently Nvidia is starting to get upset about it.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. But yeah,
so I mean, you might be right. That's a good thought process.
That thought line alone could be what's causing Nintendo to step back and go, did we fuck up? So
made the
Logan, SoC, not the GPU.
Yeah, of course. So Logan does have a good point where he says that if it has physical carts, he'll buy the Switch 2 versus any other mobile PC.
You know what? Fair enough. But that's going to be a small amount of people.
That's right. I mean, the majority of people don't care.
Yeah.
Me and Logan are some of the very few, but at the same time, I mean, the collector's market is still like really big.
Sure.
It's actually almost cutthroat now. When someone posts they're having a like a garage sale or something like that or something along those lines. Oh my God, I'm not kidding. If someone says they have video games for sale at a garage sale, you better be their first thing, because people are almost fighting over what's available.
Well, I mean, considering that a copy of Deadpool on the PS3 and Xbox 360 sold for $1 million on the market, I'm pretty sure I have that digitally on my PS3. So I'm just like, I could just make copies of that and sell it.
Yeah, right. So I mean, my point is there is enough of a crowd. Well, not enough. There is a crowd out there, but are they a big enough crowd?
Right.
That's the real question.
Yes. Yep. And there are Nintendo fanboys that will buy it solely on the premise that it is Nintendo.
It's Nintendo.
I mean, that's with anything, right? Like, you've got that with Apple, you've got that with Samsung, you've got that with any kind of tech, right? There's always going to be that faction of people. But again, Nintendo has to capitalize on the whole. They need to capture the young as well as the old. And I think for the most part, I'm not going to pay I'm not going to give Nintendo even $300 for their next system, because the Switch will do everything the Steam Deck will. The only thing I'm getting is Nintendo's games. And honestly, most of them have sucked lately. Just my opinion. The franchises I care about have sucked.
So, like, my whole thought process after reading all the leaks and all of the different thoughts from various different peoples and the conversation we're having now, et cetera, and so on, they're gonna support physical. That's just it's gonna happen. They're not gonna ditch it, at least not yet. I don't think anyone's gonna ditch physical, even on the next generation. Maybe the one after, possibly, but even then, I still think it's dubious. As far as power goes, I don't think they're really going to be much more, if any, more powerful than the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck is an extremely optimized device. However,
beautiful
it's
for
now
its
a couple of years old at this point. And so, do we really want to release yet another system that's so underpowered? Sure, it's going to have DLSS support, so says all the rumors.
Right.
And that will help, but only so much. Mm-hmm. And do they really want to hamstring themselves so much with so many different ways? I mean, like Mike says in the comments here, that they're going to have to push first party like crazy, which they've been doing since forever.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's going to be enough anymore, because again, you can get. I mean, just look at Zelda the Tears of the Kingdom. It effectively released on Steam Deck early. It released a week early on Steam and ran better. So why would you buy a Steam Deck? Obviously, there's going to be plenty of people that buy it because they don't care about PCs and all that other stuff. It's going to sell because it's Nintendo, but it will 100% be limited, not necessarily like massively, but it will be hurt, I guess is a better way to put it. It will be hurt in sales given all of these other devices.
Yeah.
So how are they going to manage to make their sales as popular? Or at least enough to make it worth it.
I mean, I've asked how they've managed to do it with the Switch in its current iteration.
So have I.
The fact that Nintendo is still a company at this point with their sales, I'm like, are you guys money laundering? What's happening here? They're a huge company. They're not small. They're massive, and I haven't heard of any big Nintendo layoffs. Have you?
No, but I mean, you got to look at the past. Look 10, 15 years ago when there was hard times at Nintendo during the Wii and the Wii U era.
Yeah.
The CEO specifically lowered his
You're not wrong.
pay in order to make sure everyone else kept pay. But they've been doing well.
Yeah.
Their games have been selling well. The Switch is still selling really well, and it's almost on pace at this point to outsell the PS2. Now, will that happen? They're going to have to keep it as the forefront of their sales for the next 2 years or so, which I don't think it's going to happen. That's going to be way too long for them to hold that on the Switch 2. So I don't think they're going to make it, and I think they know that. But it is still selling is the point. It's still selling pretty well. So the PS5 is outselling it now every single month across the world. And their sales are declining. So they're going to get to a point where in order to, make investors and everything else happy, they're going to have to do something, which means the Switch 2 is going to have to be announced and released. Honestly, I think the Switch 2 is going to be like, hey, we have the Switch 2. I know you've been waiting on it. And by the way, you can buy it tomorrow. I don't think it's going to be that quick. Yeah. But it's going to be quick. It's going to be quick.
Yeah. That's honestly been Nintendo's strategy for a while now, though, is like, hey, you're going to be able to get this soon. Like,
yeah, I honestly expect it to be like sort of an anniversary release. I don't remember the exact date of the Switch release, but I think it was in April of 2017 or something like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's day and date, whatever anniversary it is.
March 3rd. March 3rd.
Okay. So March 3rd of next year, I wouldn't be surprised.
2020.
If not March 3rd, then close to that.
So that would be, it was released in 2017. So that would be what, 8 years later? 8-year anniversary, right?
2017. Yeah, that'd be 8. Yep.
8 years? No. Yeah, because it'd be 25.
That'd
right?
be 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
8 years.
25, so 8 years. Yeah.
I can math occasionally.
So it wouldn't surprise me if they do that, even though it would really mean nothing to anybody except for them. Yeah. But it'd be, sort of a cool throwback, I guess. I mean, I can remember before the Switch came out, I'm like, this thing's fucked. It's so broken that even the developers are like, hell no, we're not going to support that thing.
Yeah.
But look where we're at now. So, I mean, who knows? Who knows? I mean, ultimately, we were talking about Dying Light the Beast, but some parts of Nintendo, that's what we do.
We derail a bit here. We do.
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. Yeah, more or less.
But back to Dying Light. I'm stoked for this expansion. I can't wait to hear more. A release window, a price point. I'd be willing to give them $40 for it. I think 40 is a reasonable asking price for a standalone expansion. I think the following, when it came out, was about $40, but I can't recall off the top of my head.
I'm sorry, which game? I was typing something.
Dying Light: The Following, the expansion from the first one. I think it was about $40.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So. I mean, most standalone expansions are about $40. Yeah. So that's about right.
Yeah. So yeah, it's cool to see them bring back the character that, like, I remember being in the press release in E3, and one of the guys there literally raised his hand and he's like, do you play as Kyle? And they're just like, well, it's 30-something years later. We can't comment on Kyle's status at this time. And I was like, yeah.
People get attached to their characters. Mm-hmm. But, so it makes sense that someone would ask. And go back like this is interesting. We'll see what happens.
I will say, I started tonight with Mike saying, "Oh, you guys should talk about Dying Light: The Beast because Kyle is a mutant in it." And I was just like, "Who the fuck is Kyle?"
So I mean, you didn't play a whole lot of the first game though, other than what you played with us, right?
I beat the first one when it was new, but I remember everybody calling him Crane, so I didn't remember his first name at all. Yeah. So he's like, "Oh yeah, Kyle's in it," and I'm like, "I don't know who the fuck that is, dude." So I was clearly not one of the people very attached to the main character. All right. Speaking of new characters, that's as good as I can do on this one. Hello. There we go. Hello. There we go. Hi. Ark Raiders has resurfaced, and it's no longer a free-to-play game. It's also a game that Tim is no longer interested in because it is an extraction shooter now.
Actually, if you look at my conversation between Mike and I, if you go to the official website, it says nothing about it being an extraction game.
Well, so, this article does, and this is...
The articles do, but their website doesn't.
Fair enough. This interview says that it is, though. There's some quotes here. Yeah, I'll read the quotes to you. Yep.
Just had to dash my hopes.
This is fucking got him. So as we know, Tim is not a fan of extraction shooters. Mike and I fucking love them.
Yep.
I'm excited for this. It did not interest me when they first showed it off, and apparently they went dark and silent because literally the team said it really wasn't fun. Like it wasn't a fun game to play. So they just I just realized that's still a Fallout Fallout London background.
Is that Fallout London?
Yeah, that's Fallout London.
Couldn't tell. I was looking at the video.
Yeah,
that's funny.
That's funny.
Nicely done.
Yes, well done. So it's back. It was originally announced in 2021, set to release in 2022, and this is from the developers of the Finals. So
yes,
the
game.
I guess it's an arena shooter. I don't fucking know. Game I'm not interested in.
It's very much like Counter-Strike. But it's 3 teams of 3.
Dev team is Embark, I guess is the name of the team.
Embark, yeah. Embark Studios.
It is no longer a free-to-play game. It's coming in 2025. It's going to be a $40 premium title. It's going to have a battle pass, probably microtransactions of some sort. Maybe. I don't know. They don't really clarify, but they do say it's a live service game, so I guess we'll see. The trailer doesn't give us a whole lot, but this interview gives us a little bit more information, which is the only reason we're talking about it, because the story to what they're giving us for Ark is pretty interesting. And Tim, even though you don't like extraction shooters, this might be enough to hook you in to make you interested. Now, in extraction shooters, generally the story is not super forefront. Ark seems to be taking the story a little bit more seriously. Most extraction shooters are just kind of like it's a thing that you do to prompt you to do missions and collect shit and stuff like that, such as Tarkov and other games. Ark seems to be doing a little bit different. Ark Raiders, I guess I should say. Ark is a different game. ARC. Yeah, not ARK. Story-wise, Ark Raiders catapults players into a post-post-apocalyptic future. So double post-apocalyptic, 2x post-apocalyptic.
So before you continue here, Mike threw up a comment here, and he says that basically the conversation, a lot of people are calling it an extraction shooter, and others are calling it a survival shooter, which is what their website says. The website says survival shooter. He believes that this is going to cause misunderstandings, and it's going to kill the initial interest. What do you think?
Okay, hold on. What I was responding to Strix talks about keep considered extraction shooters. Others say survival shooter. So here's why it's an extraction. Well, according to this article and this supposed interview, we know 2 things about extraction shooters to be true. One is it's always PvPvE, generally, unless you're playing only PvE. With the Gray Zone, it's one of the first games that I've seen that has a solely PvE section.
PUBG is not PvE, is it?
PUBG isn't an extraction shooter, it's a battle royale.
Oh, yeah, shit, You're right.
Yep, gotcha. 2, when you die, you lose almost everything except for a select amount of gear, which is usually in like a death safe container. This game does those same 2 things. You're fighting other players as well as other environment creatures, and when you die, you lose everything. Your goal is to get stuff, get out, and literally get back to the underground. It's a survival shooter in the sense that it's an extraction shooter you need to survive. Like,
isn't that all extraction shooters though?
Yes, yeah, it is. So I don't know why they're saying it's a survival shooter. It's an extraction shooter. That's like the day before saying it's an open world MMO PvP RPG and it was an extraction shooter.
So what they're doing is they're hoping to also gain interest from people like me by basically lying to me.
It's a thin line to tread because it's not a line. It's not a lie. It is a survival shooter, but it's a survival in the sense that you need to survive other players or you lose all your shit. Which is
that's just Call of Duty's extraction mode.
Yes, that's all that extraction mode. That's just what it is. Mike says valid logic, but newcomers will still. Yeah, it is. Yeah, like it's Dark Zone, right? Like Division Dark Zone is kind of what popularized that.
And now that it's a pay-to-play game, buy to play rather than pay-to-play. Buy to play, that just lowers my interest even more. If it stayed as a free-to-play extraction shooter or whatever the hell this game is, then sure, I would have tried it. And if I liked it, I'd have kept playing it. But now that it is
only $40. in a world of $70 titles, $40 is not a bad investment. Just saying, personally, that's my opinion.
Tell that to the devs of Concord, Sony's Concord. It's fucking tanking beyond belief. It literally has enough players to where it's probably the developers themselves playing it at this point.
Probably.
Yes, it has that few of players. 169, by the way.
So let's go over the story for this. Let's go over the story for this. Yep. Get back on Ark.
Let's do it.
All right. Maybe. So it's a post-apocalyptic
Ark Raiders.
Yes, Ark Raiders. Post-apocalyptic future where humanity has fled underground to escape the Ark machines roaming the world's surface. However, resources found up top remain in high demand, which is where players, cast as raiders, come in. It's up to you and your squad. Ark Raiders can play solo or in teams of up to 3 to explore the world above, visit one of the multiple large-scale maps each run, and gather resources. Success requires fending off Ark machines and other squads of players to make it back to the underground colony of Supernaza. I have no idea if I said that correctly. Speranza, alive. That right there is literally the definition of an extraction shooter.
An extraction shooter. Yeah. The fact that there's multiple maps is interesting, but
that's not uncommon. Tarkov has multiple maps, but they're not usually.
But at launch, it's not common though.
It's true. That's true. Tarkov definitely didn't.
Has any extraction shooter had multiple maps at launch?
Mike, did Homeland or Heartland? I don't remember if Division Heartland. It never launched, so I guess we can't really use that one as an example.
Right.
Gray Zone Warfare doesn't, but it has a seamless open world, which is all one. So, but yeah,
no,
basically no. So, I can't think of one that at launch has had multiple maps, but I am not as deep into it as Mike and some other people.
Well, so the thing is the fact that there's multiple maps almost suggests a more, I don't know, intimate experience.
Sure.
Your typical first-person shooter games where, like Call of Duty and, I don't know, Overwatch, etc. and so on. Those have multiple maps, and therefore they allow for variety, and they allow you to learn the different maps and all the intricacies of them and where things are at and so on and so forth. An extraction shooter typically is gigantic or meant to be very large, so you can get that variety by playing it multiple times and exploring it.
Yeah.
It almost, they're supposed to be large open maps in this game, but again, it's sort of a different strategy that you don't normally see.
Yeah.
At least not at launch, anyways.
Well, and Ark Raiders did take a step back to retool the game, so maybe this is a result of that retooling.
True enough.
Failure in this results in loss of all items gathered during a mission, with some exceptions. Again, that death-proof case that we talk about is in every extraction shooter. But success means players can trade their loot and valuables with the locals. Supernaz also serves as a hub where quests can be gathered, players' chambers can be upgraded and expanded, and their characters can be evolved to suit the preferred playstyle. So there's going to be some RPG aspect to it. In terms of, I'm assuming loadout, weapons, what you take, how you go about it. But it is scheduled for a tech test, first public tech test on Steam, the 24th to the 27th of October. And you can sign up for that now on their website, from my understanding. It will release Steam, Epic, PlayStation 5, and Series X. Again, fuck you, Switch.
Yep, sorry.
Yep. And that's Ark. I personally think this looks a lot better than what they showed. I don't remember the original Ark Raiders, but I remember being like, it's not for me.
I remember looking at it and going, okay, this looks like a mix of, say, Borderlands with Destiny had the jetpacks to it, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of gave you a little bit of verticality to it, and that's what I felt out of it. And I thought it looked awesome. And it to me, it looked like more of, I remember, in any case, I could be wrong, but I remember it being more of a looter shooter-ish style game.
Gotcha.
So I was excited for it.
Gotcha.
Now I'm not.
Well, it is still a looter shooter. You're just shooting other players to steal their loot. That's all it is, man.
I know. All the way back to SOCOM on the PS2, where you die and you're out of the game. And you have to start all over. Yep. It's just I've never liked it, and so I think that's one of the main reasons I don't like extraction shooters.
I think you might like it if you played it with a team. If you had a fire team, like these games play so much better when you play them with friends. That's like the bottom line.
You're right. I've never had like, say a team that I play with on a frequent basis.
Yeah.
But I do know that would make the gameplay better.
So you heard it here first, folks. We are making the Coin Drop crew in Ark Raiders on release, and me, Mike, and Tim are going to be out there shooting you down, stealing your beans, taking your guns. Watch out for the coin droppers.
So instead of buying me Ashes of Creation, you're going to buy me Ark Raiders?
Yeah, I'll buy you Ark Raiders. Instead of a $300 pass for... Yeah, you kidding me? What? Yeah.
You heard it here. He's going to buy me Ark Raiders on launch day.
Fine. Done. If it gets you off my back about fucking Ashes of Creation. Oh, shit. Good stuff. So... but yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the fun of extraction shooters, especially tactical shooters in general, is when you play them with friends. Like that just makes it so much better.
Well, yeah, you're learning the game together. You're learning the world. And you're trying to figure out how to play together as a team and so on and so forth. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm excited for it. We'll see what comes out of it. I'm hoping this one puts a story forefront and makes like.
That would be cool.
I like, again, with survival games, they need to evolve, and Dune looks like it's going to be that next evolution where it's putting a story in your hands and letting you play it. Extraction shooters seem like you're in a world where you should have some sort of story, and this is building an explanation for what you're doing as well as a story around it. I think Division Heartland was planning on doing that too. Fuck Ubisoft for canceling that project when it was basically done, but here we are. So...
My main question is, they're trying to build a story into this, right? What video game of this style has done that effectively in any way, shape, or form? I know
not many.
The original Titanfall tried, and it didn't do a good job of it. I mentioned it already. Sony's Concord, they actually are going to do this every single week. They're going to have a vignette, which is short little video. That's a storyline.
Yeah,
they're going to release a video giving you more story every single week. And so that's going to keep players engaged as far as what the quote storyline is and why you're, fighting the match. I can't think of any other way in an online only game of this style other than, say, the way Concord's doing it.
Well, I mean, again, right? It's just an online PvP VE game. Right? So like that doesn't inherently make it impossible to tell a story. You can still tell a story, and it just is, hey, I need you to go do this thing. We got to find, like, here we go. Prime example, right? Quest giver. I need you to go out and do some investigation on these Ark machines. We need to find out what we're going up against, what we're fighting, take out as many as you can, get the stuff, and get back here so we can start coming up with a way to retake the surface. That's your quest. You go out and you try and do it. You go out and start taking out some of these robots. Somebody comes and kills you. Try it again. Like just because you get killed doesn't necessarily mean you fail that quest. You just have to keep trying until you do pass that quest, right? So just because it's inherently a PvPvE game doesn't mean they can't tell a story.
It just depends on how it's managed, really. Like I said, you're right. The story, just because you die or you fail or whatever, doesn't mean the story ends. Yeah. But you have to show people progression. Yeah. And since it's an online game, what you do is going to help progress the story. And therefore, they need to come out with something on a semi-regular basis in order to keep you interested.
Well, they did say it was going to be live service, so...
Yeah, who knows how are they going to do that other than vignette, is my point. Or little trailers now and again.
I mean, again, like, we're assuming that you finished the 1.0 story to begin with, right? There's so many different avenues they could take with this. It's hard to say. Until we get our hands on it in the playtest next October. I think it was October. Yeah. In October.
This October. Yeah, next.
This October. We won't know. And I'll tell you right now, I will be playtesting this game and probably recording it if they'll let me, so that we can talk about it some more, because it's interesting enough to me. I'm curious to see if they are adding a story to this, or if it is going to be just generic, hey, we need more GPUs for a crypto mine. Go find GPUs in the fucking warehouse. Like, generic missions, Tarkov style, or if there's going to be something deeper. Right? Like, I'm still waiting for Gray Zone Warfare to see if they do anything deeper with their missions. So, we'll see. But that is just about it for our main topics tonight. Tim, you got some quick fire for us. We've got some good,
some
quite a
quick
bit
fire.
of quick fire.
I've got quite a lot.
Yeah. Do you want me to take the first one? Yeah, I'll take the first one while you're pulling up your list.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the game I am most excited for this year, actually both of them at this point, they've both been pushed back now. We talked, I think 2 weeks ago, maybe the week. Stalker 2 got pushed back to 2025. Sad days. And now Vampire the Masquerade 2, Bloodlines 2, has been pushed back as well. It has unfortunately not gotten a clear pushback date. They just said the first half of 2025. So that could be anywhere from January to June. They delayed it for polish and to add more endings. So of all the reasons to delay a game, this is the one I'm the most okay with, because more endings is always great. Yes. More polish is always 100%. Great. So,
as I've said, delays can only make a game better.
Unless
even
you're
if it
Duke
still
Nukem.
Sucks. No, even if it still sucks, it's still better than what it would have been if it launched before.
I'll die on this hill. That game got worse the more it got pushed back.
That game did suck a lot, but I still think it would have been worse if it had released 10 years prior.
What do you got for us?
Anyways, moving on. The massively popular Genshin Impact is finally coming to another platform outside of PC, PS5, and 4, and cell phones. It is coming to Xbox, not Nintendo Switch, which is interesting because the Switch version was announced almost immediately after the PS4 version was. Yet, we still have absolutely no news on that, which, as you heard me say, this game is already available on the Switch. Or not the Switch, I'm sorry, mobile, cell phones. So why isn't it on the Switch yet? I don't know. I don't really care.
My thought is Nintendo is not letting it come for some reason. There's something they don't like.
Retarded.
It does,
they'd make so much money off of royalties for microtransactions. It's ridiculous. Stupid. That's all I can say.
Nintendo does dumb things all the time.
This is true. It's coming to Xbox November 20th. And speaking of MiHoYo, the next bit of news is their their follow-up game, not even that, their next game.
There you go. Words are hard. We're doing great.
After Zenless Zone Zero, which just launched, their next game, supposedly, according to a job listing leak, will be realistic. It actually does specifically mention a few different things on, realistic monster styles and an open world, etc. and so on. Basically, it sounds to me like it's going to be another game within their vein, but with a realistic graphics set. So that'll be interesting to see how they manage to pull that off. I mean, obviously it can be done, but you have to make some different changes to the way gameplay is done.
I want to give a quick shout out here. 1% made a good suggestion as to why it hasn't come to Switch yet. He said the graphics might be too close to Breath of the Wild. I imagine the gameplay too. Maybe. Maybe. And I also want to ask a question. The developers, I think you're still there. I thought you froze. Are they any closer to Cold Fusion, since that's what they're putting their money towards?
They have not put anything towards that, or any additional information out, other than the fact that they did turn that reactor on, a little while ago.
I want to fucking know. It's wild to me that a video game studio is funding Cold Fusion. That's so awesome.
Yeah, it is super awesome. As for 1%'s thought process, honestly, I don't think that has anything to do with anything.
All right.
There's more than enough games that have the Breath of the Wild art style.
Gameplay's kind of similar though too, isn't it?
Kind of.
Okay.
I mean, when the game was first announced, there was actually a lot of people. They're like, they're stealing Breath of the Wild, and then it turns out to be pretty different.
Gotcha.
I mean, when you climb in the rain, it doesn't. You don't fall down. You don't.
Those are pretty generic ideas. Those are pretty generic ideas.
Exactly. Maybe, but that would be one of the dumbest reasons for Nintendo to say no.
Yeah, fair enough.
Who knows? Moving on, Red Dead Redemption 2 is getting some rumors of a modern platform port. I'm hoping that this isn't a shit platform or a shit port like Red Dead Redemption 1 for last gen platforms.
Yeah, it absolutely is. 100% guaranteed it is. It's going to be coming to Switch. It's going to be coming to Switch. Yeah.
Probably. Along the lines of Rockstar, there's been a lot of rumors, and actually I think there was some sort of copyright or something along those lines for Bully getting a port or something along those lines as well. So that would be cool.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a straight port and it's shit and lazy, it hasn't been playable since PS2 era. So I don't think anyone will be upset about that one.
Isn't it on Steam? Can't you play it on Steam?
I don't know. I actually have not looked.
I'm looking right now.
But as far as...
Yeah, it's on Steam.
Is it?
Yep.
Is it? Okay. Well,
Scholarship Edition is on Steam. Yeah.
PC players can play it, but console players
hail
cannot,
the master race. Wow,
Right.
don't take that out of context. Shit. Oh, please don't. Please, no one. Fuck.
The master race of PC or of gaming.
We had
which is PC.
We had a good 66 episodes, buddy. I think I just got us labeled as white supremacist. Fuck.
All right, moving on. Gearbox decided that it was a great idea that after the massive flop that was the Borderlands movie, to try and change the subject to Borderlands 4. They announced it at Gamescom and literally showed us nothing. Although it does sound like they're going for a galactic war this time, which has been talked about in the games, which would be interesting because we wouldn't be stuck on the singular planet that we have been. So we'll see what comes of this when they actually show gameplay.
Yeah.
Next, we've got Flat Out. If you remember that franchise, it's... I mean, how do you describe Flat Out?
It's like a Demolition Derby Wreck-It Fest kind of... yeah.
What are those called? The crash dummies, crash test dummies.
Yeah.
Mixed with ridiculous, like you could go off giant ramps and then you could eject your player out towards a big, bullseye. And but in VR this time, it's coming for pretty much all VR headsets. So
which sounds insane.
Excited.
That sounds absolutely insane.
As soon as I heard that they were coming out with flat out VR, I'm like, how is the ejection towards a big bullseye going to work out? Because I can only imagine some people are going to get some serious levels of vertigo.
Yeah, no joke. Strix is letting us have
of course,
it. Strix is letting us have it.
He's definitely mentioning the Proud Boys quite a bit there.
Yep.
All right. Moving on. Curse of the Dead Gods. That's not an old video game, but the developer of Curse of the Dead Gods have announced a new game titled Raven's Watch. It is a multiplayer roguelike that basically fits exactly what you'd expect it to, but multiplayer, and it looks pretty good. If you like Curse of the Dead Gods, it got massive support, praise. You should probably look into Raven's Watch. Next, this game was actually announced via Reddit today. It's called Syl and the Fading World. It is basically made by a fan of Diablo and WoW, and he decided to sort of cross the two. There is a trailer available. He released it on YouTube. Go look it up.
It's also on Steam.
It looks... also on Steam, yes. It looks to have the bird's eye view of Diablo mixed with the mechanics of what you'd see in a MMO boss fight. There's all sorts of crazy stuff going on where they're telegraphed and you have to avoid them and things of that sort. And it looks like a cross between the two of them. It's something that caught my eye initially, and basically what I'll say is, as of right now, there's a demo that's going to be released sometime early next year. At least, let me rephrase that: not early, sometime next year. They haven't nailed down as to when exactly it'll be next year. But we may actually have them as a guest on the show sometime in the future.
Is it a solo dev or is there a team? Do you know by chance?
That is one thing I wasn't able to ascertain.
Gotcha.
It seems like it's a team. But when I went to the website, I didn't have the best of internet at work, and there was a meet the team section, but it didn't load well enough.
We'll do some research.
There was more than one person.
Yeah, we'll do some research.
The next game is titled Akimbot, and pretty much the best way to describe this is Ratchet and Clank, but not by Insomniac. It is a multi-platform game, except for Switch, of course. And I'm telling you, the main character straight up looks like he's Ratchet, except for the fact that he's a robot. But height, ears, the way he walks, the way he runs, it's Ratchet. And his robot, not quite Clank, but it's Clank. It's Ratchet and Clank, just not from Insomniac. Honestly, that has me interested right away because Ratchet and Clank is awesome. And for someone to finally try and copy it, I'm not upset about it, really.
Fair enough.
The next one is Atomfall was shown. I can't remember when this game was announced. I believe It was at the Game Awards in December. I could be wrong about that, but it was announced within the last 6 months. I'm pretty darn certain. It's basically a BioShock / Far Cry / Fallout style game. And I mean, if you like those, think of it that in a video game, kind of like darn it, it's what I've been looking at. There's another game that's very BioShock like that just came out recently. Had crazy robots and stuff in it. I have yet to buy it yet, so I don't know why I'm looking at my game shelf.
That's wild. This is made by Rebellion.
Adamfall, right?
Yeah. Rebellion has done basically just Sniper Elite. Like, there's a couple other games, but Sniper Elite is 99% of everything that they've made. So this is a pretty far step outside their normal formula.
Yes, it's very different. I mean, not to say that they're not working on a new Sniper Elite. They did announce one here at the Games Awards. It's called Sniper Elite.
I think it was Resistance. Yeah.
Yeah, Resistance. But Adamfall is definitely very different for them. Mm-hmm. So it looks interesting. I mean, I love the BioShock formula. So the more games like that, the better. And it's something that is definitely on my radar.
Yeah, sure. I'm watching the trailer for it right now. It does look pretty interesting.
Yep. The next one that I had pegged is a title called Spirit of the Samurai. It's a side scroller that kind of looks like it's made in a claymation, which is interesting. We're talking like 1990s claymation, Nightmare Before Christmas style. The gameplay looks really interesting. I mean, it's your typical side scroller. I don't think it's a Metroidvania, but it's a side scroller action hack and slash. Your sidekick is a cat, and it almost looks like you can control it at times. So that one's on my radar just for the uniqueness of it.
It does say it is a 2D stop motion action adventure. So yeah, claymation.
Claymation. Yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
The next one is, I mean, speaking of unique, Squirrel with a gun.
Yes. Fuck, dude, I was so juiced when they showed that game off.
The very first time they showed this game, I'm like, oh my god, this is real. There's a squirrel holding a freaking pistol, pointing it at like Agent Smith. And he goes to town on these guys. And ever since they announced it, my mind has been on it. And they show more, and every time I look at it, I just eat it up, and I want to play this game because it looks so ridiculous. And then you look at some of the actual trailers. Go to Steam and watch some of the trailers on there. They're like, oh my god, this is a game that I need right now.
They're actually right this moment on Steam. The devs are doing a live stream of it. So there's live footage of the game right now. If anybody watching wants to pull it up on Steam, it looks awesome.
The game just looks absolutely silly, and I want to play it. I mean, we're talking about like you can do bazooka launches like you can in various other video games. Yep. But there's also one, if I'm not mistaken, he shoves someone's head in the bazooka, and then it explodes and launches. It just go look it up. It looks amazing.
This is I had a really shitty day at work, and I want to turn my brain off and just have fun game. That's what this is.
Yes.
I just want nonsense. That's all I want.
And it just looks amazing.
It does. It looks so good.
Okay, so honestly, I probably should have saved this for last, but it's number 13 on my list of 24.
Jesus, what? Do we have that many left?
I told you there's this big list.
Bro, we're going like 2 hours today. Like, I know we missed an episode last week, but good lord.
We're not going that long. Like I said, this is probably the biggest news. Basically, Xbox lied in February saying that just 4 games. They announced that Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, or whatever the hell the subtitle is, is coming to PlayStation 5. It's coming to Xbox and PC on December 9th, and for PC or PS5, it is coming sometime in spring. They didn't say specifically when. So when I say they lied, I mean, some people have tried to say that it was out of context. Not that he lied, but he was saying that the games that are coming to PlayStation and Nintendo soon are only 4. But that motherfucker, he was saying there's only 4 games coming.
Yeah.
And there's more now. There's more than just Indiana Jones. They didn't confirm that necessarily, but there's been enough interviews recently where they just said that it's going to happen. We're going to see. I mean, Doom has already been confirmed, and we're going to see more. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah,
that's literally all it is. So, I mean, basically, they're continuing to confirm you don't need an Xbox. I mean, it's being demolished in the sales department, so of course they're going to try to find a way to sell their games. It makes sense. It's just a business decision. It makes sense.
Yeah.
So if you know the Dark Pictures anthology games. There's been like quite a few of them now. They're made by Supermassive Games, and they're those ones that as you play through them, you make decisions, and the storyline changes based on those decisions you make. And the decisions they're usually horror games, and the decisions will decide that if your characters live or die or not. And you can have all the characters die, and that'd be sad, but that can happen. Well, they announced their next game, and it looks like a Dead Space-esque style game. It's called Dark Pictures Anthology 8020.
Nice.
Like I said, it looks like a Dead Space style version. That's the best way to describe it. We mentioned Genshin Impact earlier. There is a new game called Infinity Nikki that was announced for PlayStation a while back. I don't remember exactly when. I think it was early in the year. Basically, the way I'm looking at it is it's Genshin Impact, but for girly girls. I mean, we're talking like dress up and cutesy and all sorts of like little chibi characters and all sorts of other stuff. But I mean, I think one of my daughters specifically is going to be all over this game. They announced that it's coming sooner rather than later, and that I think they've already got over 12 million people that have signed up for early access or something like that. So
damn,
it's quite a bit. It's popular.
Yeah, definitely.
Path of Exile 2 was given a early access release date for all platforms except for Switch, of course. Is November 15th. So regardless of the platform you are, except for Switch, you can play it on November 15th.
I love that that's become our thing. We just jab at the Switch every chance we can. I mean, we're not pulling them punches, man. We're just
they're holding off for way too damn long. Like, they need to just give up already. They've got their reasons, but at this point, it's getting stupid. Yeah, I mean, even the GPU creator is like, "What the fuck, man?"
Yeah,
which we said earlier this episode.
Yes, we did.
Next, Little Nightmares developer. They not only showed off Little Nightmares 3, which is unreleased, but they also showed off their next game, which it's called Reanimal, which, from what I could tell, is basically a Little Nightmares style game, side scroller horror in a funky vein of like not chibi, but like, I don't know how to describe it. Dolls. I don't know. If you like Little Nightmares, I'm sure Reanimal is going to be right up your alley. Sid Meier's 7 was shown, and hey, we're not making fun of the Switch this time around because it's releasing on the Switch and the PlayStation 4, and of course the Xbox One. At this point, I think developers need to just ditch last gen.
Yeah.
Which most have when it comes to Switch. I mean, Switch is 100% last gen. So, yeah. That release is February 11th, by the way. Monument Valley, which is a puzzle game. They've been out for quite a while. The first one released, hell, I don't remember when, but it was probably somewhere around 2014-ish. They announced the third one. Monument Valley 3 is coming. It's a puzzle game that almost looks like damn it, the game's name escapes me. It's like a sand world, and you travel across this world, and it was like lauded, absolutely lauded. Everyone loved it. Anyway, doesn't matter. Monument Valley 3 is coming. Next one is an interesting one for me. It almost seems like he's like crossing a creative line that is going to piss off some people. But Peter Molyneux is back.
Oh yes,
he is making a new game called Masters of Albion, and yes, it takes place in the Fable universe of Albion.
Yep.
And he straight up said, you can't copyright Albion. And it basically sounds like he's like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm going to make a game in my universe. Deal with it. That's what it feels like.
Yes, it does sound like that. If I'm not mistaken, this is like a world building game though, right? Like this isn't...
He's known for those. I can't remember the Black and White. He made the Black and White games, and he's made a couple. I think he's made one or two others. So yeah, I believe that is the case. Yes. Next is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 has unfortunately been delayed outside of 2024, which was promised initially. It also releases February 11th alongside, what is it? Sid Meier's Civ 7? Yeah.
It's really funny to me. A lot of games pushed earlier in the year to get away from all the big releases, and now all the big releases are pushing into next year.
Right. Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah. But, you know, they didn't really specify why. They just gave it a release date. They showed a trailer, gave it a release date, and unfortunately it's not in 2024 like initially promised. The next one, a game we've actually talked about quite a bit. We had a whole episode on this one, Dark and Darker, which was released officially on PC recently. They announced a mobile version of the game.
They did. I don't know.
Yeah, strange. I guess you could make it happen. Cell phone games have gotten a lot bigger or more capable, I guess, lately, especially with engines definitely being built for mobile games. So I guess I hope it works for them. That's the best way to put it. I don't wish any game to fail, even the ones that I don't want in any way, shape, or form. So we'll see. And the last that I have is Mafia 4, formerly titled Mafia: The Old Country, was announced. It appears to be taking place in Sicily in the early 1900s. So if you like Mafia, which I haven't disliked a single one of them, Mafia 1, 2, and 3 have all been actually really, really good. So I'm hoping Mafia 4 continues that trend.
So I pulled up Masters of Albion because as shitty a person as Peter Molyneux is, I'm always interested in what this guy has to show. I just wanted to talk about it real quick.
Annoyingly, because I am too.
His sense of humor is just very British, and I fucking love it. And it shows in this game in a really great way. This looks like a city builder that I will actually play. And that's a huge feat because these are not my type of games. But this looks fucking hilarious and very fun in a really weird Peter Molyneux kind of way. So I'm actually going to be watching this one pretty closely, Masters of Albion. It's not what you think. I'm just going to leave it at that. So check it out. And
I shall.
I think that's going to wrap it up for us tonight. Thank you, everyone, for watching, listening, joining us, supporting us, doing whatever you can to help us grow so that we can give back to you guys. As always, we have a Patreon. We're going to head over there. As we said earlier in the episode, we're going to talk about a new Cyberpunk game and some really interesting information about Outer Worlds 2 and the state of that and the fact that it was almost canceled. So we'll be talking about that and some other stuff over there. Thanks for joining us. Tim, final thoughts, final words?
Well, as he said, we appreciate everything you do. It's why we continue to do what we do. And while you're at it, tell your mom I said hi.
Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you next week. From PAX.